So this is a clip from before end of service where we'll see I nab a guy with scan. He tries to fake me out, but he's scanned, so he gets caught, and then he rage quits with 2 minutes and 10 seconds on his clock and less than 2 minutes left on ours. So he's not even losing. If we go back to the start of this clip, we can see a revive in the kill feed and my axe is in a wall. So I don't even look my best. But we're going to watch it again to go over the fundamentals. So I get a pretty good headshot right here. But once he's behind this, I watch both sides of the pillar, scan him, hide as soon as I get my scan, then line up these corners and pounce. So here's the point. It does not matter which health up he runs for. I'm going to line up these corners, and I'm going to line up these corners, and I'm going to keep flipping back and forth until you get the idea. Saz is a goalie. Pillar 1, he can't go left or right without getting scanned, and I'm really far back so that it's tight. Pillar 2, he's scanned, so he can't go left or right without getting hit. I even spend half a fuel tank on a tiny step just to make sure I'm close enough to stay hidden. This is why we need to talk about something called angle disadvantage. Normally, angle disadvantage is circumstantial. It means that if you're closer to a corner, you're bigger on someone's screen than if you were farther away. And that means if you're turning a corner, well, they're going to see your shoulder sooner than you might see theirs if they're not so close. SAZABI, however, he was just born with angle disadvantage. He's huge. So whenever you slow push a corner like this, Camphor's going to see your shoulder before you probably see him at all. And that means he's going to go, ew, and he's going to run away. Because he doesn't get fuel for hitting your shield or nothing. I mean, maybe he ults you, but you get my idea, right? He sees you first, and that sucks. But guess what your ability does? Now you see everyone first. And that's the point of scans. It isn't just that you know where they are, it's that you can know where they are while they don't know where you are. When you're taking a scan, you want maximum angle advantage, so you create some distance to tighten the shadow behind the pillar. Whereas when you already have a scan, you no longer have any purpose for this, so you take the exact opposite approach and you get close to the walls because your values are opposite and your range is pretty short. It's half of an Arzaku or a Camphor's range. So here's how shield cycling works. While I'm blocking, I can't regenerate my normal HP. However, while I'm taking normal damage, I can regenerate my shield HP. So the idea is that you want to grab one of these at the same time you get your shield back. Or maybe you get a Healy grenade from GM. GM special, his grenade persists while you are blocking, but if you take damage, the regen doesn't work anymore. That turns the grenade off. So this is an older clip, sorry for the quality, but I managed to get a lucky axe and I decide that I'm going to 1v2 some supports. I do a lap around this pillar to reload, and that's the important part. Don't worry about the axes, they had 2 seconds less of cooldown in this patch, so look at how these actions layer. Homing boost is loud as fuck and it lets me use my shield, and I'm using my shield first, so I use those together first. After using my shield, I use my sprint gauge and my health bar instead of my shield and my boost ability. Shield characters can't block and reload at the same time, but Saz is really convenient because he has one movement option that works with reloading and one movement option that works with blocking. This is my Schizo Saz diagram. Anything like reloading or casting your ult goes on the red side because you can reload with your fuel, you can ult and move around with your fuel, he can dash and sprint in his ults, which counts as a reload. And on the other end you have the homing boost and shield combos, and since homing boost makes noise, this is the exposed side. Since the shield blocks damage, this is the exposed side. This is where you scan, and then the other side is where you do everything else. You don't have to be doing this all of the time, but if you want to, shall we say, maximize your centripetal force, you need to know which part of the curve you're in order to come out swinging. I've had my SAZABI described as a Jekyll and Hyde kind of Saz, and I think that's very accurate to how the character should be played. I think that if you don't have someone mentally ill in your Saz guide, it's cultural appropriation, because think about the toxic way in which scans actually work, right? The reason why I compared being scanned to having angle disadvantage is because it's basically the same thing, you know? What Saz is doing is he is projecting his weakness onto other people. He is a chubby kid who tells other kids they're chubby, and then he makes them feel chubby by using privileged information to incite paranoia and punish it or the lack thereof. I literally gaslit this guy into thinking he didn't technically have the lead, because scans are that toxic. So do I blame him for rage quitting? No. And you know why? Because I made him do it. Wouldn't it be nice if we were just normal people? So let's look at a clip where I actually play sight. First of all, jump height, high ground, super good for Saz. Fits your shotgun's range, and you can jump up and down at about the same tempo you shoot. But I'm also using that pillar to kite Hades, and look at how I space this Zaku out. See how I make sure he has no fuel? Most people who are going to give you strats, especially if they don't actually play Saz, are going to just draw a little red X on the floor and be like, Saz plays here. And in this case, the red X goes on this box, basically. But you are still managing your distance from that point in accordance to the situation. This is going to be a clip where I strafe a Gundam hammer, and it was actually so funny to Dwime that he made a little animation out of it on YouTube. But I want you to watch how dedicated my strafes are. Maybe you didn't notice, but I actually dropped my shield to make sure I could walk fast enough to strafe that hammer. And I held the A key down the entire time, because Saz is so fat that if you don't strafe as far to the side as possible, you will not leave the original volume your enemy was aiming at. And this guy, after that, he gets 2-tapped while he still has full shield. But you know what? I had a scan on him. I was ready to use this whole structure right behind him as a pillar. And when he came out the other side, I was going to swing him with an axe while he was scanned. So I'm going to wrap this section up with a final comment on angle disadvantage. So just the same as how I'm smaller when I'm farther away, I'm also slower. And Saz is designed to take advantage of the opposite effect you get when you're close, because if you whip past someone's screen like this, you are very, very fast if you're very, very close to them. Saz has the longest dash in the game, so you can use that to overtake even a Camphor. Camphor's dash, it's only 100 meters. And you might say, oh, well, he has 2 more dashes, but he shoots once per dash. So if you're like jousting with this guy, you go 25 meters further than he does, and that means he becomes a sitting duck first if you spend your whole dash like this. On the opposite extreme, you have a very quick recovery. Dom Trooper or shieldless 1-dashers don't have this. Their fuel actually gets stuck for like a second after you dash, maybe more like a half a second. But with Saz, you can dash at a higher frequency than most 1-dashers, and this lets you stay in range to duel with something like a Barbados while managing your spacing correctly. So if you're a side 7 regular, you might actually have a better understanding of this than the pros. But Saz is busted in 3v3s. This is not just because his funnels do twice as much damage when there are half as many targets. It's because he just takes a long-ass time to kill when there are only 3 people that can shoot him. So think about that, and think about how you should play in a 6v6. Never die. It's like that scene where Ron Weasley beat Stockfish at chess.
I move, the Queen will take me. Then you're free to check the King.
No. Ron, no!
What is it?
He's going to sacrifice himself.
No, you can't! There must be another way.
Do you want to stop Snape from getting that stone or not? Harry, it's you that has to go on. I know it. Not me, not Hermione, you.
You know what Ron Weasley's mistake was? He didn't put a single human player on the King. You're telling me this kid was smart enough to be a computer at chess, and he was like, I'm gonna play Camphor? I'm gonna play Camphor? Survive into the end game. The exceptions to the rule are maybe you die to take a stun for a disarm, but that probably is endgame. Or Mathus is offering to nano your ult, which is like double value, so you can use it twice as early. Regarding self-perception and VOD review, your mistakes may be farther in the past than you think. So by now you should understand that Saz usually wants to play around a pillar or a piece of cover that's probably connected to a capture point. Other times though, you're going to have to play something like a choke. This is a choke because no one can get to the rest of the map unless they pass this point. So, which side would you rather play the choke on? Would you rather play right here, where a sniper can stand really, really far back, and he has a health up and massive angle advantage on you, and he can keep his crosshair at head height? Or would you rather play on this side, where he's like trying to share this 1k with his teammates? You're sprinkling them with your Saz shotgun, so every now and then some guy who's almost at full HP takes it by accident, and like he has to aim downwards, and he has to like be closer to the fire. Which side would you rather play? It's this one. It's obviously this one. And you need to be able to look at a map and like feel that. You have to like run your hand along the side of the dungeon and be like, oh, this good place to live. That good place to die. Basically, if you get pushed down here, think about the tunnels you have, right? So this side is the side with the Y-shaped tunnel. So if you let people breach this choke and they're forced to go that way, the attackers can pick between B and A, because this is the Y side. The other side has two one-way tunnels, but think about how defender-sided it is, right? If Heavy Arms is right here, straight shot on B, goes straight up here with one G-dash, straight shot on A. So this is definitely a left-sided room for the defenders, and you should be able to recognize that very intuitively. And again, think about where this Y-shaped tunnel spits people out. If they come to A, it's here, and like look at what you have. You have a pillar, you have a health up. It's like this room was designed for Saz to be like, no, no, no. And then this whole area is like Ash can't fly out of your range. Barb can bounce off the ceiling, I guess, but low ceiling is a net positive. Because Ash flying out of your range, I mean, imagine you axe him over the water on Harbor, right? He can fall for 1 second, hover for 6 seconds, and then he gets his flight mode back, so he doesn't even die if you axe him out of the air. You gotta axe him twice. I would rather fight Barb. So this is probably the best point for Saz compared to A, which is definitely playable, but you need someone who can play high ground for you, and it's definitely reasonable to say, okay, we'll, like, say you're an attacker, right? We'll say, oh, someone else on my team wants this point, that's fine. Like, if there's a bomb site that snipers favor and I have snipers on my team, I probably do it their way during the 6v6. Once you help someone get their kill, that's when, like, you need all of the GM healing grenades and all that good stuff thrown at you. And that's the part where Saz becomes the high ego character, I would say. Ministry of Defense, very similar kind of concepts. So if you have a sniper right here, he can look at A, and if he basically just dashes to the side, he can look at B as well. So you're bouncing between protecting him from guys that attack out of the original spawn, and flying all the way over here, hopefully not spending your fuel on a hover, because that will let Barb kill you, but then you just farm this area, which is like his blind spot. Um, Look, there's like all this distance to that health up, axe bait. And look at how good it is to scan your way backwards like this. You could be going for a health up, you could be hiding, and anyone who sees you retreat like this isn't going to know where you are, and you're going to see them through a wall. Oh yeah, you can scan people through these grates for sniper. Like, this is Sazabi's mansion, dude. I love this place. So, Quarry, which site do you think Saz wants to play on? If you just like Scooby-Doo your way around B, this is super great for avoiding Arzaku ults. But let's say your team's like, hey, come over to A. Hey, play off this HP right here. Oh, and this straight hallway and this other fucking terrible. This is Arzaku ult bait, dude. You're gonna die. And you need to be able to just look at this place and be like, that sucks. And yeah, if you have a sniper, play A. You can totally do that. But this is where I would rather be if I'm the one who's carrying the weight. If you are going to play in here, this tunnel is a really important place to control because you can stun B, you can go over here, you can stun A, you got a health kit, and then on the opposite end, you got another health kit, as well as a tricky little path to either that health kit out there or a 1k right here, which will quickly get you line of sight on B if you want to axe it. See how my axe just came back? Perfect timing.
It's Leviosa.
This section is dedicated to common mechanical errors and their various solutions. So the sort of things where either you gotta whip it into yourself or you gotta whip it out. The first is Sazabi's shield Q. If you throw an axe, see how my shield button is held down? I'm not blocking even though I have the button down. And if you're repeatedly getting into scenarios where you're pretty sure you're blocking but it's not happening, that's because you need to release and press it again. You can't hold it down in the middle of an axe. You can't hold it down in the middle of an ult. You also can't scan in the middle of his ult, oddly enough. You can scan through it, but it won't let you start it in the middle. And that's just a rule. The next error is that people lose track of their reloads and they block and they think their reload is done when they have no ammo. This is called a reload cancel, and even if you don't get ammo from the cancel, it's still a reload cancel. If you want ammo, you have to block at 75%. Yeah, see? This is too early, but that's just perfect. Basically, just as the pump hits the bottom, that's when you can cancel it. If you take the battery out of the bottom of the gun, you still have the bullets in the gun, strangely enough. But you can reload cancel at any time as long as you have your shield. Even if you're sprinting, watch this. See how it just like teleports my gun? That's because I tapped my shield button. Forbidden Saz tech. I kind of think that should be patched out if possible. It's kind of an exploit. Last of all, G-dashing. You want to get your G-dash inputs right. If you do it like this, you did it wrong. You know how I know you did it wrong? Because the bar flashed white. If you do it right, stays yellow the whole time. I wish I could make a cool rhyme out of that, but I'm not gonna. Here's how you do it. You tap and hold shift every time you dash. It doesn't matter if you think you're going to cancel early or you're going to cancel late, because the shift key has nothing to do with that. You just tap and hold it, and then you release WASD when you want to cancel. See how you can keep it held down and do like multiple sprints? Releasing it is enough to cancel the dash, pressing it again is enough to G-dash. And that's how you do it like super quick. If you've ever played piano, I guess it's kind of like how you're expected to imagine there's an invisible ball in your hand when you play piano. It's like a little flatter than that, but like that. You also can't dash too far or you won't be able to sprint. Watch. See how the bar turns red? So when you're below 25% of your fuel, you can't sprint. You can sprint through it, but you can't start a sprint until the bar goes from red to white again. We also got to talk about the teleporting axe bug real quick.